Thank you everyone for joining. Just a couple of house notes. And just to let you know, this is being recorded. So in the spirit of the, I know Big Brother's on at the moment, so not that you're muted at the moment, but please do not swear. So let's just keep it all clean. I will introduce you to Sam Fulton, who is the trade marketing executive at 4Communications, and they are the representative and Tampa Bay UK office. I will hand over to Sam, who is going to tell us about the wonderful Tampa Bay. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and thank you everyone for turning up today. I know it feels a bit like a faux Friday before the Easter weekend. I appreciate you all turning up. Yeah, I can see a couple people. Well, I know Daryl, I've definitely met you. I've been to Tampa Bay, and Nigel will be going out soon as well for the first time in a few years, as you said. So looking forward to hosting that trip. Yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, let's crack on. I'm going to start with a destination video to introduce you to a bit of the imagery of Tampa Bay. And as you can see behind me, this is the lovely sunny Tampa Bay. I'm not there currently, but hopefully in a few weeks we'll be. So let's get started.
Excellent. Yeah, let's bring some sunshine into our offices.
Just pause. There we go. Amazing. I'm glad that video all worked for everyone and you heard it. I literally can't not. So, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I love the fact that you are having a little cheer boogie in the.
Not listen to it and do a little boogie. It's very poppy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I was feeling the vibes. And actually, what I did forget to mention, sorry, Sam, before you start, to the guys out there, is to listen very carefully to the presentation, because we've got a cracking couple of prizes at the end of the webinar, and Sam will have a question for us, and it will be the first person to answer correctly in the chat box, or in the chat room. And also feel free as we go along, if you've got any questions as we're going along, please put them in the chat room and we will get those answered as we go along. We're going to try and make this a conversation as opposed to a presentation, and hopefully have a little bit of fun along the way whilst we're learning about this magnificent destination. So sorry, Sam, over to you again.
Thank you. Did you also mention the incentive, Nigel?
Yes, I can mention that now. Yeah, we do currently have an incentive going on at the moment. So it's for between the 7th and 27th of April. Anybody who makes a booking to Tampa of 2 nights and more, the first 10 people will win a £50 shopping voucher. So if you haven't booked already, get in on the act. and get yourself a £50 voucher just for the sheer fact of you doing your normal day job. So how good is that? So yeah, the incentive it's running, just to repeat, from we're smack bang in the middle. It runs till the 27th of April. And anybody who books a stay of 2 nights or more, you're in with a chance of winning one of 10 £50 shopping vouchers.
Perfect. Thank you, Nigel. So yes, we're going to start with just explaining where Tampa Bay is. So a lot of people know Florida for Orlando and Miami, and you might know Tampa Bay for Busch Gardens, very popular at. So we are about an hour drive from Orlando, literally one direct road, and about a 4-hour drive from Miami, or about 1 hour flight. We realize a lot of people might think Tampa has beaches. We don't. We are completely bayfront, just on the water. But not far from us are things like Clearwater, which will have your beaches. But yes, we are just on the waterfront. You can kind of see that little zoom in image of the bay going in, and there's downtown Tampa.
No, perfect. Yeah, and I think on that front, for me, it's like it would be a perfect combination. Like you say, if you're talking about Clearwater, you get some people who want some beach, but not necessarily a whole stay with beach. If you want to do a kind of a city beach combo, that to me, it'd be perfect.
Yes, definitely. And we realise that people who are probably booking Tampa Bay or flying into Tampa Bay, they're not your Florida first time goers.
Absolutely.
And they're not only going to Tampa Bay. So one of the main things I want to highlight with this training is how you would sell Tampa Bay. We sell it as a 2 to 3 night addition to a bigger itinerary. So that could be your people who are flying into Tampa Bay and then driving out to Orlando, maybe going to parks, or just bigger Florida, doing like beaches, going down the coast, whatever it might be. Another big part of our customer base, people flying into Tampa and then going on a Caribbean cruise out of Port Tampa. So yes, that's one thing I want to get across, is why it's worth adding a couple days in a hotel and just really seeing what there is to offer. But in terms of connectivity, we have daily direct flights from Heathrow with Virgin Atlantic, or 3 times a week from Gatwick with BA. So good connectivity, and I definitely have quite a lot of feedback from agents who I go to various training events saying that they like to book people, if they've got customers who are going to Florida, they like to book to Tampa. The airport it's just such an amazing airport experience. It's won awards for being one of the best international airports in the US for various years running now.
Fantastic.
And when I last went there about a year ago, I kid you not, from landing to picking up my checked luggage at the other and being out of the airport, was about 25 minutes. It was such a nice, calm, stress-free entrance to like the trip and my holiday. I was there for work.
I think yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I think if you're talking about a multi-center Florida itinerary, to me, it would make perfect sense, with all due respect to Orlando International Airport, which is a great airport, but it's a very busy airport, and you've got international flights coming in from just about everywhere, not just from, the UK and Europe. So to me, just from a practical point of view, if I was doing a Florida fly drive, then I'd be flying into Tampa and making that my first port of call, and also my last port of call as part of my itinerary, because of the ease of flying into the airport, as you say.
Like, you're selling it for me. I love it. Thank you.
I'm a brand advocate, so yeah, you don't need to pay me either.
So next, I wanted to introduce you to what Tampa Bay actually looks like. So when I talk about Tampa Bay and things that are going on, I'm pretty much always referring to the downtown Tampa area. So as you can see on this map here, there's 3 main things I really want to highlight for you here. And they are basically 3 main ways to get around. So you can kind of see the orange line going along the periphery of the bay. That is the Tampa Riverwalk. I know Daryl alluded to enjoying the Riverwalk. That is actually won a few awards for being one of the best riverwalks in the US. I think is a really good claim for Tampa Bay. It's big, wide, pedestrianised, you walk it, cycle it, wheelchair, skateboard. It's used, it's like a big part of Tampa Bay and its identity. And to put this into perspective, from one end of the Riverwalk in the at the top from Amateur Works, all the way along to where you can see the little icon of the cruise ship on the right hand side, it's only about 4 kilometers / 2.5 miles. So at a average kind of pace, it's only about 1 hour from one end to the other. I think that really shows how compact actually Tampa Bay is. It's not that big, so it's quite easy to get around. And another way you can get around, you see these yellow dots dotted around the water. That is the pirate water taxi stops. I think you can see my image, my background. There's a pirate water taxi just here. But yes, that is again a really amazing way to get around. Being very front, obviously a lot of things are on the water, and this water taxi can be booked as you can buy it as a day pass, and it's a hop on hop off service. So it's not just transport as well. The people that actually run it, the company, they also provide information about what you see as you're seeing it. So added value from the guides there. Then the third way to get around, you see this grey dotted line that's running through from left, running through downtown and goes up to the top right towards an area called Ybor City, which I will touch on later. But this is something that is kind of, if you imagine like San Francisco trams, it's that vibe, old and restored wooden trams going through the city, but one thing that's quite unique for Tampa Bay, which I don't think a lot of US cities can necessarily claim, is that it is completely free. So, yeah, I know. Really cool. A free mode of public transport for getting around. So this is what I say about when Tampa Bay is actually quite an easy, stress-free addition to a Florida itinerary. Like fly in with the easy. Someone said they're struggling to hear me. Oh no, that's not good.
Okay. Yeah, let's have a look. Don't worry, we'll sort that out, Sam. You carry on.
Breaking up a little bit. I will speak slower. But yes, so yeah, it's just a quite unique claim for a US destination. So this is what I say about it being an easy addition, that once you're there, it's actually quite stress-free. I know you mentioned, Nigel, that maybe okay, same thing. Maybe like you fly in the easy, quite cheaper flights as well going into Tampa Bay. But then once you're there, you might have people, like you said, doing a fly drive, going elsewhere in Florida. But the unique thing about Tampa Bay is that you probably don't have to have already hired your car already. Like you can wait a few days, save a bit of money, and then pick up your car on the way out. Yeah, given that it's so walkable as well, no need to worry about in the evenings going for a drink. Like who's driving back to the hotel? No one. You can do what you want.
Yeah, do you know what? That's a really good point, because it's also, sometimes when you have come off that long transatlantic flight, in reality, the last thing you want to do is get into another queue on that day, if there is one, albeit probably at Tampa there's less of a queue, for the car hire company to then worry about driving, to then find your hotel and this and that and the other. And as you say, you do that, save yourself a couple of days' money, save yourself a few hours extra at the airport on arrival, and bosh. Yeah, no, that's a really cracking point. Thank you.
And then the way we'd recommend getting you to downtown from the airport, you can see it's in the top left of the image here. It's only about a 20-minute Uber away. So yeah. When I talk about things, I always say in times in an Uber, because no point recommending renting a car yet. So like I said, you could get drop straight off the airport, no need to worry about parking and all of that. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
easy. Yes, so the other thing I wanted to just show here, given that I said one of our big customer bases are people who potentially fly, I think, a cruise, Caribbean cruise out of Tampa, you can see the bottom right, the Riverwalk literally ends right by the cruise terminal, which I believe, it's on the next slide. I'll just show you now as I'm on that train of thought. You can see here these top two images, right, you can see Sparkman Wharf, and then you go straight on to the cruise. So again, another point about it being really easily accessible. So if you got customers doing this, again, no car needed at all. But then alternatively, if you do have customers that have driven to Tampa maybe from elsewhere, you see in the top left-hand image, there's a car park obviously right by the terminal as well. So super easy, accessible either way. But one thing I did just want to allude while I was here with this slide sent to prompt me, we City Pass have their own Tampa Bay version, which includes quite a few of the slightly bigger experiences like Busch Gardens, which a lot of you will know. We recommend half day or full day at Busch Gardens. Zoo Tampa, which is literally just across the road from Busch Gardens as well, or like the Florida Aquariums, the bigger experiences, and this can be packaged through via tour or do something different. Alternatively, the our lovely tourism board, we have our own attraction pass, and that's called the Tampa River Walk. And this includes attractions actually along the river walk. So again, super easy to get to all of these, and also includes access to the pirate water taxi. So this is kind of highlights a few things that may be more family orientated, like a few museums, again the aquarium, learning about the history of Tampa Bay, at the Henry B. Plant Museum, for instance. But yes, buying this can be bought online via our website, or it can be bought to whichever physical store in destination as well. But that roughly gives you about 50% off the prices as opposed to them being bought individually.
Perfect. And how long are those passes typically valid for when you first use them, when you first start using them?
So you can buy the Riverwalk as a 1 day or a 3 day pass.
Okay.
That can be used at any point throughout that time period, depending on your ticket.
Okay.
Which is why it also leads into the whole 2-3 days where we recommend that time. It'll, they've thought this through.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
So already talked about the cruise here. I also want to mention some of the cruise lines. So we have 5 cruise lines that have made Port Tampa home. They include Carnival, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity Cruises, and most recently, Margaritaville at Sea. And we actually have a section on our website dedicated to cruising, gives you all information, or alternatively, Port Tampa are very active, proactive with updating their website, and obviously have all of these schedules going on there.
I was going to say also, Sam, just it's probably a good time to mention sort of in terms of we curate our hotels online into certain categories, and one of the categories that we do have on with cruise ports that we have a curation for cruise terminals. So we if people are specifically looking for a hotel that's convenient for the cruise terminal, I mean in this instance it's going to be most of them because you guys are so self-contained, but we do curate our hotels for cruise ports as well, where people can specifically book hotels that are convenient for cruise ports.
That's a very good point, actually. At a training I did recently, I had an agent ask, so what's the closest hotel to the cruise? And I thought, I don't just have the information on the top of my mind, but I almost wanted to say it was not relevant as much because the Eco streetcar, being the free mode of transport, can take you right to the cruise terminal. So even if you've got your customers, I could say you could walk there if you want, but you might not want to. You've got your big suitcase. You don't want to be going through city walking with that. Hop on the streetcar. Why not? And then this is just this slide to just kind of say that another big customer base of ours are families. I mentioned in the attraction pass we have includes a lot of family friendly experiences. But yeah, So we got a section on our website as well to help with maybe planning an itinerary that is more family orientated.
Sounds good.
So hopefully I've kind of explained why Tampa Bay is a good 2 to 3 day edition, 2 3 night edition. But now I wanted to touch on 5 of our key selling points of what to actually do when in the destination. So obviously already talked about the river walk and how that links up most of the downtown area and all the experiences along that. And then talk about adventure, including Busch Gardens, Florida Aquarium, things like that. And then I'm going to touch on our gastronomy scene. And then Ybor City, which I alluded to earlier, that's our historic district. And then, of course, we know customers who are going to the US want some good shopping opportunities, and we have a few at different price points. So this is the Pirate Water Taxi, which I mentioned. You literally can't miss it. Bright yellow, garish. I'm sure a lot of you probably heard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, our NFL team, which obviously won the Super Bowl a few years ago. So we're really leaning into our pirate history of Tampa Bay. So the Buccaneers, pirates, Pirate Water Taxi. I mean, you can see our symbol everywhere is literally a skull and crossbone esque with our keys. So yes, we're really proud of that. But as well, as I said about it being away from destination and not beaches, a lot of the activities you can do in Tampa Bay are water-based. So you could do maybe the more adventurous type. You've got various things like stand-up paddleboarding you could hire, or you could go kayaking. Actually, something you might not realise with Tampa Bay is that obviously it is a city, but if you follow the river up north, this is the Hillsborough River. It actually goes into a wildlife reserve, so you can go kayaking and follow that up and be in like little pocket green oasis. And then a personal favourite of mine is the yacht Starship. So that is a company that do various different cruises around the bay. And one thing that you can do is an evening dinner cruise. So I did that when I last went. And you get on the ship, you have your dinner as you're watching the sunset over the water. And then once that's set, you then go up to the top, have a little boogie, little disco, and then you get to see the city from the water at night. So it's an awesome evening experience.
So you mentioned pirates, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, because one of the things on my bucket list, because I always see the pictures every year, is the Pirate Festival, Gasparilla.
Yes.
Are you going to talk about that a bit later? Am I jumping ahead?
You're not jumping ahead. So that is just at the beginning of each year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's already gone for this year, but the Gasparilla Pirate Festival, which lasts a few weeks, which actually has a huge parade through Tampa Bay as well. I think it's one of the biggest parades in the US, and they have lots of big pirate ships in the water. And yeah, no, that's definitely a big part of Tampa Bay's nod to their history, and it looked actually incredible. I haven't yet been there for when that's going on, but that is something I'd love to experience as well.
It's definitely on my list as well, absolutely. And I can only say, if anybody who's on the call, just Google Gasparilla, look at some of the images, and it looks absolutely amazing. I think not only just for your clients but yourselves too. Definitely put it on your list.
One thing you can do after this call as well, I want to send an email to you all thanking you all for turning up, including the training deck. And if there is any specific information like that, I can include just a bit more information in the email for follow-up and for some more destination knowledge.
Perfect.
And then some adventures and experiences. Obviously, you've got Busch Gardens. Iron Gwazi is a big pull for Busch Gardens. I think that's the coolest, steepest roller coaster in the US for those adrenaline junkie customers. Alternatively, they're very family friendly. At Busch Gardens, you've got your lazy river style rides like Serengeti Flyover, where you're literally going through the area where all the animals, giraffes, etc. are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and then obviously
let you into a little secret. I used to represent Busch Gardens over here in the UK. So again, another brand advocate, and I'm really biased. And the irony being that I'm scared of roller coasters, and that's probably, if you're scared of roller coasters, it's probably the worst place to be because it's got so many of them. And I think in terms of the number of roller coasters in a given park, I think it's one of the largest, and the variety of the coasters as well. They're just absolutely brilliant. And then if you want to calm down the nerves and calm down the adrenaline, as you say, you've got, the kind of the animal side of things as well. But yeah, if you don't like roller coasters, don't go to Tampa Bay. Sorry, to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. But if you do, then it's definitely the place for you.
I am quite the adrenaline junkie. When I last went,
happy days.
Went round and round on all the big rides. One thing I would also like to point out with Zoo Tampa, which is at Lowry Park, just opposite Busch Gardens, they have a big conservation rehabilitation project going on there as well. So if you've got kids who are really interested in the animals and learning more about, for instance, native manatees, that's a really good place for that. And then obviously also the Florida Aquarium.
Perfect.
Just alluding to a bit of our sports teams, which mentioned obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We also have an NHL team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then minor and major league baseball teams. Got a couple huge locations for this, like Raymond James Stadium, which can go for sports, but alternatively also host some more music artists as well, depending on the season, depending on what's going on. And now I'm going to touch on some gastronomy.
Ooh,
so
yes,
yeah, just look at this, I'm like, oh, ready for lunch. So Tampa Bay is quite a good eclectic gastronomy scene. We've got 5 Michelin stars. That's 5 individual restaurants, all with each individual star. And then in addition to that, also about 30 Michelin rated restaurants. So the gastronomy scene there is really, it's been more and more recognised for its brilliance, and so there's lots of different options to choose from. But then alternatively, on a maybe more budget-friendly end, we also have various eateries. So when I was on this slide with the map, I mentioned how you've got Amateur Works at one end of the Riverwalk. At the other end was a place called Sparkman Wharf, right by the cruise terminal. So these are shown here with your 2 images on the right. So the top right-hand one, that's Amateur Works. Actually, on our website, you can see have a 360 run through of Amateur Works. So you can actually see what it looks like there, and that they're both obviously right on the waterfront. And the eateries, we've got lots of different food vendors. They're all local food vendors as well, and you can go and get your little buzzy thing. And everyone, especially if you're in a family, might be dietary requirements or fussy people, or just you can't often find maybe a restaurant everyone just wants to eat at. Those want a place like this, and someone will find something that they like. So I find these always really good for groups. And then being right on the water, you have outdoor seating options. So it's just lovely in the Tampa Bay sunshine.
I just noticed in the top left, I guess, as I'm looking, the Columbia restaurant, and I remember it's probably a few months ago now. I think there was that series with James Martin was going around the US, and he visited the Columbia restaurant, and they took him through some of the menu, and he just couldn't say enough good things about it. And I think they taught him how to make the Cuban sandwich. Yes. And he was just absolutely waxing lyrical. So, if somebody like James Martin is doing that, then, you can't get much more of an endorsement, can you, really? So, yeah, he just waxed lyrical about it.
So that actually leads perfectly onto our next section where we're going to talk about Ybor City.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Like we planned this. So yes, Cuban sandwich. So that is actually the birthplace being Cuba, but history states that the first place it was actually in the US was in Tampa Bay. So this all comes from Ybor City. So our Cuban culture, our Cuban heritage. So Ybor City, I pointed out on the map, is in that top right-hand part that you can get to via the Tico streetcar. That is our historic Latin Quarter. So that, I think a really good comparison is potentially the French Quarter in New Orleans. So you imagine all low-rise buildings, like verandas going out onto the streets. You can almost imagine there's tumbleweed rolling down. Like it all feels very historic and almost like nostalgic vibes. And this is actually where the modern-day Tampa Bay originated from. So in the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, the Cuban cigar industry was booming, and Tampa Bay was the center of this. And so with that brought jobs, it brought the railroad, brought lots of immigrants over from Europe, and this is kind of how the Cuban sandwich came about. It is an amalgamation of these different cultures from Europe. So you've got things like your Swiss cheese, your German salami, all of that in this nod to the different cultures. And you mentioned, Nigel, the Columbia. That is the oldest Spanish restaurant actually in all of Florida, and which is in Tampa Bay, and it's absolutely incredible. I think it's also the largest Spanish restaurant in Florida. And one thing I say to people that if you're going to go, or you recommend your customers, your clients to go, that you have to spend morning with lunch in Ybor City. I recommend in the morning, maybe doing a walking tour. We've got a few incredible tour guides, and then going to the Columbia for lunch. And why not trying the birthplace of the Cuban sandwich in one of the most historical restaurants in Florida?
Yeah,
like,
fantastic.
Ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
And then while you're there, have some sangria
you're
as well.
reliving it right now.
No, I'm tasting it.
Fantastic.
What customers are also maybe interested in the cigar industry. There's actually one cigar factory still up and running, and that is JC Newman. And you can go there and actually see them still hand rolling the cigars. So that's a fun little cultural part of our itinerary for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, wonderful.
And one thing that's quite actually completely unique is that there is a section of Tampa Bay where you can actually be in a different country. There's this park called Jose Marti Park, which is this bottom left-hand image, and it is legally a slice of Cuba. So it's, you don't get your passport stamped or anything, which is a shame because that would be really cool. But you can be in that, and it's actually like being in Cuba, which is a fun little tidbit about Ybor City.
Yeah.
Something about Ybor as well is that we've got a huge craft brewery scene. There's actually a few vendors in London which get Tampa Bay beers brought in especially. So they've got lots of really unique flavours and little craft microbreweries over there. And something that's really random, it's just a bit of fun. Ybor City is home to free roaming roosters and chickens. Not that it's a selling point, but it's I feel like it's something you won't forget.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. It's got free roaming roosters and chickens. What, in a specific park, or this is Ybor City, or
this is Ybor City?
Okay, right. And what they walking around in the trees, all of the above?
So these are they say these are kind of like a hangover from the cigar industry days when all these people working there had their own chickens for eggs and for meat, etc. And somehow when the cigar industry declined and people then moved out, and they somehow these chickens and roosters just kind of acclimatized and they stayed. And they now actually have protected status as swans do in the UK.
Wow.
So,
so basically, these people left their pets.
Yeah.
They left their pets and their chickens, and they've just continued to breed.
And now they have the same rights as humans within the district of Ybor City.
Amazing, amazing.
And they live in the trees at night.
What a glorious random fact.
It is. I mean, you won't forget. And if you're there, you can literally hear them doing their cock-a-doodle-doos in the morning as well, and they're sleep in the trees at night. Daryl says yes, he saw them while he was there.
Yeah, I'm just seeing, yeah.
And just wanted to show you a bit about the streetcar, which I mentioned. You can kind of see again, we're really leaning into our brand colours there, the bright yellow and the bright blue. Hop on that to get to Ybor City, and again to get back. Then a few
I think
different
that's
shopping
really
options.
cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Then also I want to mention with the streetcar is that it is completely wheelchair accessible.
Excellent.
So also I mentioned about the whole you can walk around Tampa, take the streetcar and that, but people who need more accessibility options, streetcar ticks all the boxes. And then a few different shopping options. So we've got a few options at different price points. You see the image in the bottom right hand, that is the International Plaza and Bay Street shopping mall. That has got your more upscale premium brands. And that's actually right by the airport, so maybe useful just at the end of a holiday before you're flying off home. Alternatively, we got an outlet shopping area called Tampa Premium Outlets. When I last went, we spent a few hours there, and I remember the agents absolutely loving it, going to town. We went just before Christmas as well, good time of the year to go to Florida.
Nice.
And so I think people were buying presents for all their kids and whatnot, so it worked really well. But then, alternatively, I think one of my favourite, more experiential shopping experiences is the bottom left-hand image. This is an area called Hyde Park Village, and this has got your more boutique shopping options. It's got the shopping, but also dining options. So I recommend Hyde Park Village for people who want to shop, also want to spend a morning maybe mooching around. It's a lot of pedestrianised area here as well. It's very green. Maybe go for somewhere for brunch. It's a beautiful way to spend the morning.
And is there Sam, are there any tax-free options at all in terms of shopping? Is there like an office where they can go and maybe get tax back or not? I know it's not in every US city, but I was just wondering if it was in Tampa.
That is a very good question. I'm going to write down to include in my follow-up email.
Okay, wonderful.
3 options. So I don't want to give you any wrong information because that would be.
No, I understand. Because I'm one of those weird men who enjoy shopping. So, it was it was a relevant question for me.
So when we go, Nigel, so do we? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. No, who
No.
knows? Who knows? Watch this space.
What? Yeah, exactly. Watch this space. And then just going to touch on a few of the different hotel options, accommodation options. So on our website, we've actually got a collection of hotels we recommend called our Treasure Collection, again leaning into the whole pirate theme.
Sure.
These include hotels within the downtown Tampa area. And so that includes some names you'll almost definitely recognize, like Hyatt, Hilton, JW Marriott. But then we've also got a few more boutique hotel options. For instance, in Ybor City, there's a boutique hotel called Hotel Haya, which is absolutely stunning. I would highly recommend if you've got people who maybe don't want to stay in the downtown, but maybe more in Ybor City area. And then if you've got customers who are maybe looking for more luxury, our first 5-star hotel is called Tampa Edition. Very bougie hotel, really awesome experience. If not to stay, then you've got different restaurant options within it as well. One thing I did want to point out with this slide, you can see the image of the really appealing looking rooftop pool. One thing that's super unique again about Tampa Bay is that all high-rise rooftops have all been utilized. You don't see on any rooftop, especially you're staying in a hotel and you look out, you can sometimes see a lot of these rooftops are kind of not very nice looking air conditioning units. You don't see any of that in Tampa Bay. All of the rooftops have been utilized for something such as pools or rooftop bars or restaurants. So
Fantastic.
I had an agent ask recently, what do you recommend as the best cocktail bar? And I was like, anywhere you've got a good rooftop cocktail bar, there are quite a few different options, and then you get the views and you get the experience. And it's, yes, highly recommend all the rooftop options.
And I'm not going to ask how many of those you've actually tried, Sam, because we don't want to sort
Oh,
of like cast any aspersions on your character.
sure, we'll be trying out a few as well. But yes, I love me a cocktail, that's for sure.
Fantastic.
And then just to finish off, I've got a few different more platforms to recommend in terms of learning more about destination knowledge. Um, we have our own actually training platform, Visit Tampa Bay Specialist. As I said before, this will all be sent through, so don't worry if you don't get to note it down now. But I recommend this as a to do all the way through first time, and then use as a hop in and hop out of place to get to your access to knowledge easily. And then nextly, I also want to introduce our destination guide. This is something I use very often, and so you've got the QR code there, and then it's just a PDF on your phone you can easily access. And this was updated end of 2024. Big guide for anything you could possibly need to know about Tampa Bay, and it's super useful, really fun and colourful and interactive. And I highly recommend this maybe for your own use, and then also potentially to send it through to customers if they're in destination and they just want to have a look through something else to do that might not already be on their itinerary. But yeah, destination guide, very handy.
Wonderful. I've scanned it already. I've got it on my phone.
You got it. This is just a link to our
Yeah.
website, so don't need to look at too much. But that is the end of my training presentation. This is me, Samantha Fulton. That's my email address if you want to drop me a line. Obviously, I'll be sending an email out to all of you anyway. But yeah, I wanted to say massive thank you all for turning up, and Nigel for the questions and facilitating this training. It's been
my
really
pleasure. Good. My pleasure. No, thank you very much. Yeah, do you know what? It's always, I say it's always easier when you have been lucky enough to have been to the destination, albeit not for quite some time. And I think you either said or mentioned before, if you've not been in the last sort of like 10 or 15 years, then you've probably not been, because it's evolved so much since then. Obviously, you've kept your historic parts, but there's been so much evolution and stuff being built and new attractions and restaurants and things like that in the last few years. So yeah, just a big thank you to first of all to Sam for a wonderful presentation. Like I said, I think you can tell you've been there and you love the place because your enthusiasm was infectious, so thank you for that. Can't wait for I'm privileged to be on the trip next month, and look forward to meeting you, Rachel, on the trip as well. And thank you to everyone who's joined us, especially as Sam says, it's almost a de facto Friday, given that it's the Easter week. So I hope you very much enjoyed it as much as I did. So, and all the hotels featured are available on stuba.com. And just one final thing, don't forget about the incentive. You've got till the 27th of April. And for anything stay of 2 nights or more, the first 10 people will win a £50 shopping voucher. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful long Easter weekend, and hope to see you guys in Tampa soon.
Wow, thank you very much, Nigel. See you all.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Thanks,
Sam.
Sam.
Take care.
Thank you.